Konnichiwa, minasan. Zetas here, MagickDream Creations with Mr. Manager Orgy.
Hey, guys.
And we've got a special guest, Wretch from Wretch Place. Say hi, Wretch.
Greetings, programs. Thank you guys for having me on.
Thank you for coming on with us.
Yes, thank you.
Today we're going to do nothing but World of Warcraft, because all three of us are World of Warcraft junkies.
Right.
At least at were at some point in time.
I went to rehab, but horribly relapsed. quite recently.
And that's all thanks to the Warcraft movie.
Yeah. I went in thinking that it was going to be a nice little trip down memory lane, but I went down that dark alley with the orc who had the needles in his coat. So it was good to be back, though. It really was.
Yeah, and I miss it right now. I don't have my subscription up, and it's making me Jones for more Warcraft because I'm like, oh, I want to play again.
Oh yeah, my veins fiending.
But because I know we had the episode with Valence talking about the Warcraft movie, and then we turned down several lanes of other things. But
Let's open them up.
Yeah, we're gonna just talk strictly World of Warcraft, and I think we could start off with this question of when did you start playing? That's a loaded question, but Wretch, we're gonna start with you on that one.
Okay, well, I started playing, oh man, I don't remember when exactly. I think it was around 2005, 2006. The only reason I played it was because Drake and Falil wanted me to go ahead and just check it out because they thought it would be fun. I think it was near the beginning of Burning Crusade. And I had the good fortune of being able to play it at work. So I installed it on the computer that I had at work and started playing it there, which was oh so productive for overall job performance.
Oh,
and yeah, and it was a really different vibe. I was familiar with Warcraft from the RTSs. I played a little bit of the RTSs, but I was more of a fan of like Civilization and the turn-based stuff, so I didn't really get into Warcraft as much as other people had. But when I jumped into that world and really started reading like the lore and the history about everything, I was extremely hooked on it. And it was an interesting and at times very amusing transition for me because I had played MMOs before. The first MMO that I played, and I played a lot, was Star Wars Galaxies. And how dungeons and encounters ran in Star Wars Galaxy was basically Zerg. There were I wasn't familiar with concepts like tanks and DPS and healers. Everyone carried med packs. You were lucky if you had a person who was actually a doctor profession. And you basically just hacked and slashed at the boss and hoped you guys all survived at the end.
Oh, yeah.
So the concept of all that stuff and crowd control, which I had no idea how to do it, was an interesting learning process because I remember the first or second dungeon I ever ran was Wailing Caverns, and I ran it with Falil and Drake, or Terenia as his name was of his character there.
Yeah.
And he was playing a rogue, and he was running around sapping all these people, and I was always curious why he was sapping. All I knew is that my shaman had a new spell called Chain Lightning, and I could be a Sith Lord. So I just kept on blasting everyone, regardless of CC, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And I'm just like, I'm all like, "Unlimited power," kind of thing. And then they had to educate me about that. So it was the game was a lot more tactical, and add the tactical with how just kind of awesome it was and the lore and everything. I was hooked, and I had been hooked for quite some time.
Oh, God. All the dungeon crawls and everything. Orgy, when did you first start?
Oh man.
Go back into memory lane.
Yeah, let's go.
Reach
let's
into
take
your
a trip
brain.
on memory lane. I had the experience. I played a lot of the RTSs. I didn't play 2 and I didn't play 3, but I played Warcraft.
The very first one.
Yeah, the very first
That one's orcs and humans,
yep.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Orcs versus humans. That's what the movie was based on.
Yeah.
And I stayed there for a little while, and because the game it's got so much to offer. But I moved on to MMOs, and I remember my first one being EverQuest, and then EverQuest 2. I died a lot in EverQuest, and I didn't experience a lot of the dungeoning or nothing like that. But EverQuest 2, I played with a group of people from Lubbock, and I got the dungeon experience and the role aspect.
Right.
And when I moved back to Hobbs, that's whenever I think it hadn't been out that long, maybe a couple of months. And so I don't remember exactly the year that I started playing, but I remember it was before Burning Crusades.
Oh, wow, you actually started playing during vanilla.
Yeah, I did. I started off as Alliance, and I was a night elf. Yeah. Sad days. I was playing on somebody else's account, and I didn't really get the full experience until much later on, whenever I was on Darren's account, Drake's account. And then I started PvPing a lot. That's whenever I found out who all was playing, and I remember it was right before Wretch you started playing. And then I took a break, and I came back, started playing on Darren's account again, and it was right after Burning Crusades. And I've been playing ever since.
Yeah. And you actually didn't own your account until you met me, and we bought your own.
I kept account hopping a lot.
Yeah.
I was on multiple. I want to say at one time I was on 4 different people's accounts.
Mine included.
So I could actually play certain aspects, and I could actually go through some of the dungeons.
Yeah, you were mostly an auctioneer for, though.
Yeah, I did.
Well, speaking of like meeting Yuzi, we actually met via WoW.
Yeah, I knew you just as Krolgoth. I never knew you as Wretch until we met in person. And I'd always been Z. I know my hunter was named at one point Melina, but or Milana, or I don't remember how I named
I had completely forgotten about that.
Yeah, and then I changed it to Zadist, and then you guys were, how do you pronounce that? And it's Sadist with a Z, or just call me Z. That's how that started.
Thus a legend was born.
Yes.
Playing on Darren's account, I had seen Yuzi, and of course Quogoth and Kragnathor and all of those guys.
Yeah, because we all had that. We had Harbingers. I know y'all had 100 Acre Militia at one point. So many of them. I actually, before I really knew everybody, I played Vanilla WoW. And I started playing it. I started on Alliance. Because they didn't have, well, they didn't have the Blood Elves, and I really liked Elves because that was my interest, and I was like, okay, well, I'll make a Night Elf. I made a Night Elf Hunter. No, it was a Night Elf Rogue. And got in the starting area and...
Because you just can't have enough stealth, right?
Right. And I just couldn't figure out the mechanics of the game. I didn't know about questing. I just ran around killing pigs. And then when that stopped giving me XP, I tried to explore outside of the starter zone and went, no, things are killing me. So,
well, I have something I like. Would you guys both agree, as being people who's played like other MMOs before WoW, do you think one of the primary reasons that we stayed playing it was the community aspect, of the fact that we met so many people and so many of our real life friends were playing, that community and all the guilds interacting and running around with each other? Do you think that really expanded the lifespan of how long we played?
Oh, definitely.
I don't know. It was very captivating. I mean, I could get lost in it. Where EverQuest 2, I mean, I had the community, but it wasn't my cup of tea. Where it felt at home, and it felt there was a lot of different people I had met. There's so many people I don't even remember all of their names. Friends that were not, or that I didn't even know. So I don't know. It kept me going.
Just the game itself and the lore and everything. Well, not really the lore, because for you were a dungeon crawler, raider thing.
Well, to be fair, EQ you kind of have to make up a lot of the lore. It didn't have an established...
No.
It didn't have its own established storyline and stuff. You found that out in the middle of the game.
Yeah. You did that as you went in and did, I can't say quests, but when you defeated certain characters, then you started getting into the lore of it.
I think that's one of the primary reasons. I remember a lot of people tried to leave WoW and started playing Guild Wars and Guild Wars 2. I think that's one of the reasons I never really got into Guild Wars, was because I think WoW kind of spoiled me in terms of how much lore was available.
Yeah.
And when you jump into Guild Wars, you're kind of, all of this is really, really simple. And you can't really dive headfirst into it like you can with the Warcraft mythos. And I think that's the only other MMO that's really captured my attention since WoW has been Star Wars: The Old Republic. And it's Star Wars. It's got tons of lore that you can dive into. But WoW's always had that staying power.
I
gotta say, you guys are the ones that got me addicted to Old Republic. Man, I'm watching you guys.
I do have to say that Tor, as it's known, nearly ruined WoW for me, because every quest that you do on Tor is fully voice acted, and there's like a moral choice you have to make, whether light side or dark side. And I remember playing that for a long time and getting really into the story, because that one thing that Tor does have is an amazing story based on your class. And I remember, I was like, I don't think I can just talk to a random NPC and go kill boars anymore without a legitimate, dramatic reasoning for it.
Right.
And I have to have some sort of moral quandary. Like if some Tauren looks at me and says, you have to go kill these wolves, I'm going to be like, why? What does this mean to you? How can I? It ruined me for a while. I finally got over it, but also to counterpoint that, the simplicity of the quests in WoW is also one of its strengths.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Because you don't have to be, if you just want to zone out and veg out and play, you don't have to be, that emotionally invested in it. You can just play.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's so much in that, and how far they've gotten with all of the WoW, all the expansions and everything. There's so much to do. It's ridiculous. You can just play for like even an hour and you're doing 20 million things at once, especially if you're max level.
Oh,
because you got your dailies, you got the dungeons and everything.
There's so much of a variety to do.
And I know, like all the three of us, and there's the ultimate question that's always asked of Horde or Alliance. All three of us are Horde. We dabble in Alliance, but we're Horde at heart.
Yeah, like I think I've only played 2 Alliance tunes in all the years that I played WoW. I played a Dwarven Paladin, and the only reason I did that was because it was kind of a throwback to my first D&D character. And it's like, that'd be kind of cool to play your first D&D character. And it was interesting to play the game, and that's when you realize, especially if you spend your entire time playing one faction, and I know this has happened to Alliance players who have gone over and played Horde, is you don't realize how big of a game that is when you're playing one particular faction. And the game's big enough because you're doing like racial quests and class quests and things of that nature. And then you go over to play another faction, and that doubles the amount of content that you get to play as, like all kinds of stuff. And that's when you kind of realize, especially for me, how screwed up both sides are in the storyline. Like most people who watch the movie will figure, oh well, Alliance are always the good guys and Horde are going to be the bad guys. Not the case. It really depends on the situation.
Right. Yeah. It depends on the quest situation.
Definitely. Because what was it? We had a whole server to ourselves, Orgy, where we had Alliance and everything.
Oh, yeah.
We tried every single race and class combination that we could.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that server. It was called Dirty Trader. Or Filthy Traders.
Filthy Traders. And the only reason why I was like, yeah, we can make an Alliance, you just go to a server and just make all Alliance characters, was because I'm a achievement whore and I needed the achievements for Alliance side. I was like, well, the only way I'm going to get these is to...
Well, you got to visit, if you're an achievement whore, you've got to go, visit all those nice brothels in Stormwind and Ironforge and all those other lovely capital cities.
God. I got to say, fuck Ironforge. I don't like Ironforge at all. And I don't really like Stormwind.
See, I know a whole lot of Alliance players that actually prefer to hang out in Ironforge. It's very similar to Orgrimmar Undercity.
It is.
For Horde players.
But, oh my god, is it annoying. Especially when you start off going Horde side, and you're so used to that switching over, you're like, I'm lost. Where is everything?
Well, and Ironforge was set up just like how Undercity is, where it's a big circle.
And it still annoyed the hell out of me.
But I think the problem with that is Ironforge has different elevations.
Yes.
Yeah.
While Undercity is a sewer, so you kind of know where you are at all times.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
There's like only two tiers to Undercity, whereas there was like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Well, I have to tell you guys, in terms of rediscovering stuff, like I stopped playing during, I started playing during the beginning of Burning Crusade and stopped playing near the beginning of Mist of Pandaria. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't because of the pandas. I know a lot of people quit because of that. They didn't like the pandas. I love the Pandaren. The Kung Fu Panda concept for Kung Fu Panda. That's what a lot of people realize, that had been part of WoW's lore for a long time.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
With Chen Stormstout and all that.
Even back in the RTS days, there was drops and hints of the Pandaren.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The thing about it is, like, when I played, I didn't go into any of the 85 or the 86 I think it went to 85 and 90 during Mist, didn't it?
Yeah.
It only expanded by 5 levels?
Yeah.
I didn't do any of that on any of my mains. I wanted to create a brand new Pandaren monk, and I wanted to try that class out, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Oh yeah.
But the thing about it is, and it's the only problem that I see with WoW, or the big problem, especially for veteran players, is I'm going through all the Cataclysm content, which was brand spanking new, for a leveling up character, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome, I love this class, I love the pandas, this is great. And the second I hit 58, I'm like, and I'm back in Outland.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I've got to go through 10 levels of Outland, 10 levels of Ice Crown, Cataclysm. I have to go through all this before I can even be up with my mains. And it got to the point that buying your level, which you can do now, you can automatically buy a level up to max, or I think to 90. You can buy a level up to 90.
Yeah.
It's 100 now.
Oh, is it 100 now?
Yeah.
Okay. That when I realized that I was being tempted to do that, I was like, that's a problem to me personally.
I think it's 100. I don't remember.
The thing was, when they did Cataclysm, they really should have. I understand leaving Outland alone because it was Outland, but Cataclysm should have hit Ice Crown too in terms of lore. If it was hitting everything in Azeroth,
then Northrend should have been hit.
Yeah, Northrend should have been hit.
Oh yeah.
But that's just me. And then I stopped playing. But now that I restarted playing on Sunday, I think it is.
Lucky.
And I started going through Pandara. I completed all the Jade Forest. I love the concept that they have now of progression through an area based on quest lines.
Yes.
I thought that is so cool. Instead of, okay, here, do 75 quests in this area and you get this achievement.
Yes.
No, they've streamlined everything. Or not really streamlined, but categorized everything into quest lines, and you can go ahead and complete those. And I thought that was a really, really cool premise.
And there's some of them that'll actually give you a reward for completing that one.
I got to see the cinema scene with the Horde and the Alliance fighting and breaking out the Shah from the statue.
Yeah.
Nice.
And number one, that expansion is beautiful.
It is.
I actually think I probably would still be playing had I not, if I could go back, I would actually have started progressing through on one of my mains instead of leveling up that new character, because that was a mistake on my part.
Right. I know, Pandaria sucked me in big time with that one because I loved all the Asian culture, and then you had the pandas.
And the music.
And the music, oh god, that music was... I just sat there in the zone just going, I love this music. Because it sucked you in even more. And the quests were awesome. I love the lore and everything about it, and it just... I got sucked into it. And then we started... When Warlords came out, that's when it turned... Like, I don't like the garrison grind. That was the only thing I didn't like in Warlords.
And that's like the big selling point of that expansion, isn't it? The garrisons?
Yeah, the garrisons, and now you have a shipyard where you can send out your ships on missions, and that wasn't what sold me on Warlords. It was the storyline of seeing what would have happened if the whole event with Gul'dan and all that never happened in Outlands, because that's where I think I finally figured that out, and it clicked in my head that Outlands was Draenor.
Yes.
I was like, oh, holy crap. And I was like, oh, I'm living lore. And I get, and going through on Horde side, you're like, oh, there's Thrall's parents. And I nerd everywhere.
Yep.
Fangasm. I was fangirling so bad.
The only part that I didn't like about the Pandarians was climbing the ropes and the planks. I did not like that.
It was because his computer sucked and he couldn't stay straight on the ropes and the planks anytime you had to do that to get to a certain character in the center.
Oh, okay.
He kept falling off because it would glitch him, and he would just barely tap it and he would fall off, and I had to do it for him so many times.
It took
Patience,
me,
grasshopper.
Oh yeah, it did. It grinded on my patience, and there were times where I almost put the mouse through the monitor.
He's like, I'm done.
I was almost done.
Instead of grab the pebble from my hand, put the mouse through your monitor.
Yeah. Oh, I was so perturbed. But once I finally got it and I moved on, Pandaria was not so bad. I really enjoyed going through it. It was just too long in my book, but I enjoyed it.
I think it was really too long considering the fact it was only a 5-level increase. Like I have all rest XP. Mm-hmm. And I cleared Jade Forest, and I'm starting to go into that middle area. I forgot what it's called off the top of my head, but I'm a level, basically a level and 1/2 from hitting 90, and then at that point you can just go straight into the Draenor stuff.
Yeah.
Are you the Valley of the Winds?
I think that might be the case. I'm not
Where
sure.
You have the market and all that fun jazz.
No, I think it's the area above it. It's wherever like the big capital city is.
Oh, no, that's the Lotus place.
Yeah.
That's where you get the Golden Lotus rep and everything.
Yeah.
Now, regarding the garrisons, I have a question for you guys, honestly, because I was, when you guys invited me, I thought about something to ask you.
Okay.
In terms of the garrisons and how it changes to your character, and it's an entire garrison.
Yes.
It's like a fortress, and you told me, I had no idea about the shipyards until you just said something about it.
Yes.
Why is it, in you guys' opinion, that Blizzard seems so resistant to the idea of guild halls or player housing when the garrisons essentially is your guild hall? Yeah. Like, why are they so resistant to that? And they really kind of push the fact that WoW is such a community. Why could they have not had the garrisons available to guilds
We
to build up?
We both just gasped on that, so I'm going to let Z handle that first.
The fun thing is, I think they're, in retrospect to, Legion coming out, I think they are building up to that. Because in Legion, you're going to have your class guild halls and everything. And, Warlords, you have your personal garrison, you can invite somebody, and the thing with that one is, when you have people in your party, they can set it to where they can see your garrison, so you can have your whole guild visit, but it's just your garrison.
It seems like a bit of an overkill, though, to have a garrison for one person.
Yeah, and all garrisons are sat in the exact same place, everyone is inside their garrison at the exact same time, it's just you zone into whoever you're wanting to be in that garrison with.
Mm-hmm.
And it zones it in the same time with the whole shipyard too. But they can easily, I think they're just building up towards it and trying to flesh out everything before they give, personal guild space, I guess. Because they could easily do it with how they set up the garrison, is they can make it where this is the guild hall, and all the people that are in this said guild, you'll have
just the guild members phase in and out.
Yeah, and I know a lot of that has to deal with coding and making sure that it's not glitchy, and that's really what it sets down to, is how much coding they have to put into it. Because coding is, at least because I've had experience doing coding and stuff, that it's a pain in the butt to do. It really is. And Orky's giving me a weird look. What's your intake on that one?
I have a different idea.
Okay.
I'm going to go a different route here.
Okay.
They did it in EverQuest, and I know they're two separate games. but you got to know your enemy. And I have a good feeling that they learned from EverQuest's mistakes, and that's one of the big complaints that was related that I heard a lot of. Because you can get your own house, you can get your own guild house, you can supply it even in EverQuest, and you can have all of that, and you can have anybody coming into your guild house and seeing all your stuff, but just don't have certain access to certain things. I felt that it killed the game because they had so much that they had to do, that there was so much glitches to fix.
Right.
So I think that they're going to do it slowly if they go that route. I think they're trying it to see how it will work with the garrisons, and then possibly opening it up to where you can invite anybody into the guild and seeing it and see how that goes. I know it was very, very glitchy in EverQuest 2 because there are certain aspects where you can change your character and become very, very small, and that was one of the things that I found a hidey hole that you could only get to if you were a rat. And the people couldn't come into my room, my part of the guild hall, because they weren't a rat. And I felt that was just a glitch that just so happened. You had to be teeny tiny to fit through this crack. Right. I think they're trying to fix that, and I think they've learned from EverQuest's mistakes, and so possibly branching that out slowly.
See, the interesting thing about that is that Sony Online Entertainment made EQ, didn't they?
Yes.
Yes.
See, in Galaxies, they had not only housing that you could put the house basically wherever you wanted to on a server, on a planet. There were large areas, like obviously like raid zones and stuff, you couldn't place them in.
Right.
But there were entire cities where guilds that were bigger than, like, for example, on Tatooine, I saw player cities that were bigger than Mos Eisley.
Oh, wow.
And it was filled with player buildings and walls and stuff like that. Now, keep in mind that it was attuned to that faction. So, for an Imperial player, couldn't fly by that town without getting blasted.
Right.
So I can understand that aspect of it and like just, hey, you guys can set your guild hall in this random zone, because then it could be used to control, which would be a nightmare for PvP servers.
Oh yeah.
But I don't understand. The thing about it is I don't think that Blizzard really realizes how many subscribers they would get once they introduced that concept.
How many would return too?
I think it would be easy. I think it would be easy enough if they put in an algorithm, and I don't know computer terms, so I'm just kind of spitballing here. But if they put in an algorithm where this instance, and I wouldn't even have it a phase in, phase out kind of thing. I would just make it an instance.
Right.
Where the instance recognized everyone on the guild roster as being in one group.
Right. That could easily be done, but it comes down to coding.
Yeah.
Just getting the coding to work and making sure that all the formulas are in place and the if this then that's are working. It's
I just hope that they're able to do it, because like I said, Galaxies was able to do that, and that was in early 2000s.
Yeah.
That they were doing that.
And that would be an awesome concept if they could get that to work.
Where it just would instance in, and they may try, well, we've had you being the psychic for Blizzard, apparently, Krolgoth, and we can explain that one in a minute. And I'm calling you Krolgoth again. See? Memories.
That's fine. You used to call me Kroll. When you started calling me Wretch, it was actually kind of strange.
I know. It was strange calling you Wretch, because I was so used to calling you Kroll. But, with them being able to do the instance, because they've tried it out with the garrisons and the shipyard, and they're going to try it with the guild, the class guild halls, where everybody of that class is going to be phased into that particular guild hall.
Right.
Because it's the guild hall of hunters, or guild hall of mages, or shamans, or whatever. So you may be onto something, that they may be trying to build up to that. I don't know. We'll have to see after Legion, see what they do.
I have a feeling that they're going to try it slowly.
Yeah.
They're dipping their toes into it.
But could they keep on coming out? Here's the thing about progression, and this is the interesting thing about WoW, is they're running out of villains.
Yeah, they are.
They introduced the Shah, so they were able to get away with that, but they also killed Garrosh Hellscream. Or no, they didn't.
No.
He ran away. He did the Dr. Claw, I'll get you next time, Gadget, kind of thing.
Yep.
And that was a wasted opportunity too, because I thought Garrosh was a complicated, awesome character that they regulated into villain territory, I feel.
You're playing WoW again, right?
Yes.
You have warlords, right?
Yes.
All right, I'm not spoiling a damn
Oh no,
thing.
I saw what happened.
You did see what happened?
I have seen Thrall do the thing.
Lay it the smackdown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is because if you remember Wrath of the Lich King, Sarfang said in conversation in Warsong Citadel in Borean Tundra, he said, if you ever get out of line, I'll kill you myself. The thing about Blizzard, and I understand that they have to do this in a writing capacity, there's a lot of really good storylines that they don't follow through with.
Yes.
Yeah.
For example, and a primary example of this would be Arthas. And what I mean by that is they have Arthas, you kill Arthas, his dad shows up, pats his hand, and Arthas dies.
Yeah.
That comes off as kind of a cop-out to me. Because anyone who's familiar with that lore knows that the Lich King wasn't just Arthas, it was Arthas and Ner'zhul.
And Ner'zhul, yeah.
And they said in the people, they said, well, Arthas completely overshone Ner'zhul. He banished Ner'zhul's personality. I'm like, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
No.
Because you find, and all I remember from that scene when I first watched Arthas die is without him in check, the Scourge are free to
do what they please.
Ravage over the entire world.
Yes.
And when they said that, all I thought is, well, why didn't he?
Yeah.
Because that's kind of the point, right?
Yep.
And that they lead to that aspect that there is a slight amount of good in Arthas because he's still trying to conquer everyone, but there's this slight part of his personality that's holding the Scourge back.
Yes.
And I thought it would have been really, really cool to have Jaina show up during the fight, regardless if you were playing Alliance or Horde. To have Jaina show up and have that moment where Arthas realizes that there's still a little bit of good in him, and then he throws off the helmet, or the helmet leaves him, or something like that. You still have to fight him, like maybe phase 1 or phase 2. And then the armor, Ner'zhul, because he is the armor.
Yeah.
Right.
He would, rise up, and you would have to fight Ner'zhul.
Yeah.
And when you actually beat him and the Lich King's dead, and here's everyone, and this is like, oh, Wretch, you just want a happy ending. Not the case.
No.
I want the scene, and this is very similar to a storyline that happened in Tales of the Jedi with a Sith who went back to the light side. He redeemed himself. Have that moment where, Arthas has been redeemed a bit for his crimes. He helped defeat the Lich King, and then right before him and Jaina are about to embrace, he gets an arrow through his chest. And everyone looks, and it's Sylvanas. Who did not forget, nor would never forgive what Arthas did to her.
No.
They never tied that up. Sylvanas didn't get that satisfaction, and Jaina didn't get that satisfaction either.
No.
In a lot of ways. So that would have been a much more appropriate end for that character, because they are killing off some of the best characters that were ever written.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they are.
In Vanilla WoW, you killed Great Old Ones, which was fine, and Kel'Thuzad. Cool. Yep. In Burning Crusade, you took on Illidan Stormrage, who was a very important character.
And Kel'Thas Sunstrider too.
And Kel'Thas, and you killed them. And okay, they're dead.
They're gone.
Right? And then Arthas, who was probably the most iconic villain in Warcraft, killed him.
Yep.
And then in Cataclysm, and not only that, not only did you take on Arthas, you also killed Jaden.
Kill Jaden, yeah.
In Sunwell Plateau. And in Cataclysm, you took on Deathwing. And you're kind of sitting there as like, well, if it's Legion, there's only one kind of step up from Kill Jaden, and that's Sargeras.
Yeah.
once they kill Sargeras, there's no one left to fight.
Are we going to start taking on Titans now?
Yeah, but Sargeras was more powerful than any Titan.
Yeah.
So once you kill Sargeras, that's it.
the
You
end.
ran out of your entire canon. I think that might be the reason that they started introducing the time travel aspect with Warlords.
Yeah.
Is that they can go back and
You can
and kind of
alter.
change stuff. Which to me, the second that you introduce time travel, unless you're Doctor Who, you've ran out of stuff. You ran out of ideas.
Yep, I agree.
So
And-
I don't know what they're going to do after Legion.
And what worries me with that one and with the whole Jaina and Sylvanas is they could easily end up as raid bosses that we have to end up killing.
Yeah, because Sylvanas is. I read about that, and I also read about what happened to Jaina.
Yeah, Jaina went off her freaking rocker.
She did.
Yeah, and
She's
it's,
completely
Insane.
insane.
it's very strange where the writers are going with the storylines.
Yeah.
And Sylvanas, she's now like
She never got her revenge, so she's
Valkyrie.
got the Valkyries and all that, and now she's
Yeah.
like eternally pissed because she didn't get her revenge. She didn't get to.
Technically, she can't die.
Well, one of the interesting things, the thing about it is like when they moved Garrosh to just a flat out villain, and that's all he was.
Yeah.
Near the end of it, if I'm correct in that, he just I'm a bad guy. This is what I'm doing.
Yeah, when he took over the whole Shaw.
Yeah, and the Iron Horde stuff and all that. It bugs me because some of the stuff that you saw with Garrosh, yeah, he was a prick. He was an absolute prick.
Yeah.
But in some of the novels and stuff, and how I think it's Stone Talon Mountains, there's a storyline where a guy, they're actually testing the bomb that they use on Jaina City.
Yes.
And the bomb goes off, and this Horde guy is like cheering, and then Garrosh shows up, and he's like, "Look what we did!" Da 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 da. And Garrosh is like, "I don't recall giving you permission to bomb civilians."
Yep.
And the guy's like, "What? Well, these are our enemies." And he holds the guy over that bridge and just drops him.
Yeah.
I wanted that character where he is an arrogant prick, and you know it. But the second that the chips are down, because he's the opposite of Thrall.
Yes.
He's not cool, calm, and collected. He's impulsive and a prick, but he still has that nobility because he's trying to live up to his father's name. And they just like, nope, we need a villain.
Yeah.
There he is.
Cut
And
it
I was
right
really,
off.
I really was sad whenever they made Garrosh a villain because I was like, he's redeemable. He can easily be brought back to the Horde side and be good again.
Mm-hmm.
But they're nope. And I was like, well, crap. Because it just, I don't know. There was so much potential to have Garrosh, redeem himself in that one, and they just didn't let it happen.
Well, they're also going to be changing in Legion. All the classes and everything are going to have complete overhauls, from how I understand. Is that true?
Yeah,
Yes.
like survival hunters or melee.
Yeah, I heard
Which
about
is
that.
Freaking, I'm going, what? Okay. And, and then they're going to bring in the demon hunters.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got, one of the classes that many people are like, we want to play this class. And now they're bringing in the hero class of demon hunter, which is, and that one is Night Elf and Blood Elf exclusives.
Oh, that's good. I didn't know that.
No one else can play, no other race can be a demon hunter other than Night Elves and Blood Elves, at least from what I'm remembering of the release of it.
Well, that's good to hear, because the stuff with I was playing recently and saw a Goblin Death Knight run by me, and I was kind of like, that makes no sense
Yeah.
whatsoever.
Yeah. It's the same concept of, what Kragnathor came up with, the whole being an undead Death Knight.
Mm-hmm.
Was you died, you came back, you died again and came back. It just was like, okay, you're not gonna stay dead.
See, I remember talking to them about that, and I like the concept of you weren't necessarily forsaken. It's just when they killed you and rezzed you as a Death Knight, something went wrong.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And you were kind of an outcast.
Mm-hmm.
That the Forsaken Death Knights, for lack of a better term, were ostracized and considered like the lowest tier, which gave them a huge chip on their shoulder, bone chip.
Yeah.
One thing I do like that they're going to be bringing in is the weapon leveling system.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I don't know about that.
What it is you're gonna have specific to your class like for you elemental shaman, you're going to have a set of weapons that you get to go and paragon with those weapons and do specific quests to get the better parts of that weapons, and you can it's completely customizable.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, like they have the different like you can have I can't remember if elemental shamans are fist weapons or not.
I don't think there were any spell weapons for fist.
I can't remember.
But I know like there's the whole well, we'll go on the druid aspect where you had the feral druid and it changes the look of your animal. Mm-hmm. Like you can be a fire.
Is an aspect a hunter term?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I get to tell WoW jokes again. That makes me happy.
I can't help it. I stuck in hunter. But like you get to have like the fire lion, whatever you were, and it would change the way you look in a druid and all your druid forms. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you got like these specific weapons, and I think the survival hunter's a polearm.
Yeah, and then it changes because they have specific quest chains that you can do, and it can level up your weapon, which will change the look of whatever you are doing.
Yeah.
And then worst comes to worst, you can always change it with transmog if you don't like it, I would assume.
Yeah.
But that's really weird to me that they do that, because sometimes for some, and Orgy, you know this from experience with EQ when they did the combat upgrades.
Oh god.
Because they did the same thing with Galaxies. Sometimes when they completely change how things go, that is a death knell for a game.
Yeah, sometimes it is.
It can completely change what made people like it in the first place. I kind of thought, it's like, well, why don't you... One of the cool things that I like about WoW now is so many of the minor glyphs add flavor to your character.
Oh yeah.
It adds a flair to it.
Like my elemental shaman can, like when Kroll fires up his ascendancy power, you initially turn into this weird-looking ethereal being, and I didn't like that, so I put in a minor glyph that just makes me like glow with shaman fire, and it looks awesome. Yeah. And I was like, why don't they do more stuff where you can customize the flavor of your character? If the class stuff isn't broke,
yeah, don't fix it.
Don't do a complete overhaul. Just give people more opportunities to do stuff with their characters.
It's like whenever they got rid of the talent trees.
Yeah.
And changed that up, I was like, why?
Well,
I mean, I understood that it made it more simplistic and streamlined, but I was like, but I like all the different choices and having something to do when you level. You had to put it into your tier points and figure out what you're going to do with this and that. And I missed my volley. They need to bring volley back. I'm still bitter about that. I think I forever will be.
Another aspect, if I remember correctly, they're going to bring in the jump ability.
Beg your pardon?
Certain characters...
Demon Hunters have this attack, basically, that it's like a jump attack.
Okay.
And they can level it up twice.
Yeah.
Where you can get a double jump.
Yeah.
But as far as I can remember, it goes for everybody.
No, it's just Demon Hunters.
Okay,
that's just a Demon Hunter specific thing where they do the double jump.
See, the interesting thing about how they're changing stuff up like that is, and it's going to be a process, because I know Raja got an invite to the beta. Mm-hmm. So he's playing the beta right now, and I told him not to talk to me about anything in it, because I don't like that. I hate playing betas on games, because I don't get to see the polished, completed project, and that's what I want to see as a customer.
Same here.
But it's one of those things, like Blizzard, from my experience, seems to be really, really upset when people find differing ways to play beyond what they designed, even if it's not effective. Mm-hmm. Like, I remember, speaking of the talent trees, playing an enhancement shaman who, back in the day, you could wield a two-hander with shaman with a Wind Fury proc.
Yeah.
And you could do amazing damage. You didn't do amazing damage all the time, but when you did, it made up for it. So it was its own unique thing. And then Blizzard went, no, you're not supposed to carry a two-hander. It's not effective, and we were going to make pains to make sure that you can't do it. Mm-hmm. And another Death Knight. I remember Death Knight when... what was it? I think when they said, when people were using a two-hander Frost Spec
Yeah.
if I remember, and people and tanking with it.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, that's not the way it was designed to do. And it's just like, well, that's cool. People are doing it. It's not nearly as effective as Blood, which was the actual tanking spec. But
yep.
people seem to be doing okay with it, and they completely changed it so people couldn't do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like now, it's only Blood is tank spec, and Frost and Unholy are DPS.
Yeah.
Which I was like, okay.
It was weird jumping back in after so much. Because Mist of Pandaria was years ago when it first came out, and not playing WoW for so long, and jumping back on, and my first day, and I played for about 7 hours my first day.
Mm-hmm.
It was literally just going online or not going online, but putting everything together. Like, how do I play this class? Because it is so different.
Yeah.
It is so different.
When they changed everything up, I had to sit there at the training dummies for like, I think it was 2 hours. I sat and respect and figured out what's this going to do for this? And it was just insane, because that's 2 hours gone that I could have been questing or doing dailies. But I had to completely figure out my hunter.
Oh yeah, I did the same thing for Mage. I had to go out and...
Oh, they royally screwed over Mage.
I didn't go the hitting dummies. I went out and fought lower stuff just to get an idea.
And Mage was your main, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was your bread and butter.
That's my bread and butter. And yeah, they totally revamped, and I had to relearn my character pretty much all over again.
It's like he gets very angry with the Frost spec because they nerfed it so bad, because Frost used to be the big kahuna whenever it came to Mage specs.
I actually noticed that because I played my Mage is Frost. Mm-hmm. And that was the only Mage I intended to play was on Frost spec, and I was going on a practice dummy, and I think my Mage is like 60.
Yeah.
Or something, and I'm sitting there firing off the Mage stuff, and I'm like, this is hardly doing anything.
Yeah, there's no survivability if you're a Frost spec. You have to quest with other people. Like,
yeah.
I had to carry him through on my hunter through a lot of stuff when he was Frost spec, because there was no way he could survive all of it.
Well, I think you can, but the margin for error is so huge that if you misstep, and if you get like a secondary mob to come in and you don't have your cooldowns, you're done.
Yeah, it's all based on timing.
He cannot, because whenever you get to a certain point in Warlords, you have to complete one of the trials back in Pandaria. He can't complete it because of the Mage spec.
Yeah.
Like, at all. He cannot unlock, and that's the only way you can unlock heroic dungeons, is by completing that quest.
Oh, wow.
And he can't do it. He can't do it on Arcane, on Fire, or on Frost.
No.
Just not enough damage to get through the DPS trial.
Yeah.
And it's a pure DPS class. It has no other utility.
Exactly. It's like either he's missing gear, which he's not, because he's completely raid ready.
Yeah.
He just can't get into heroics.
I can't get into heroics because of that.
And so he can't continue on the legendary quest that he's on because he can't do the heroics to go get the pieces.
Ah.
Yeah, which that was one aspect that he was like,
I was so irritated.
And I couldn't help him because it phases you out. You have to do it on your own.
Oh, that's... it's crazy.
And I get right to the very end, and I cannot complete it.
Yeah, he just doesn't have enough output power to be able to, even food buffs and potions and everything, and he still can't get it in time. And I even tried it. I tried to do it on my computer that ran a lot better than his, and still couldn't do it. I couldn't get it to pass for him. So
I noticed how the game itself seems to focus more on trying to buff survivability than damage and everything, because when I noticed that they'd completely changed the glyphs, that 9/10 of the glyphs that you get now for all of your classes, they don't buff anything like offensively. It is all defense.
It is.
Yeah.
Like, that's all the major glyphs do, is give you a little bit of healing or lower a cooldown time on some sort of defensive power. None of it, because I remember when they first introduced the glyph Z, and you and I were raiding at the time. I think that was during Lich King. There was some stuff where there were certain glyphs that were essential.
Oh yeah.
To have in order to hit some of those big damage numbers.
Oh yeah.
So that's kind of interesting to me that they've done that. It makes the glyphs less important. I know that for a fact because I remember going on the auction house and seeing back in the day some of those big damage glyphs going for huge amounts of gold. And since I've come back, I've re-glyphed all 11 of my characters on Shadow Council, and I don't think I've seen one glyph that was over 30 gold.
Yeah.
No, because
Exactly.
they completely got rid of all of the stuff that did hardly anything to the glyphs, and inscriptionists are kind of pissed because they've messed with all the way that the glyphs work, what they do.
There's no profitability in that
there
anymore.
Isn't.
There's
no
not.
more. Not even in making the inks either. So, and I noticed that whenever I was, working on my inscriptionist, I was like, okay, well, this has just become a profession that I can just sit here and level up, and that's about it. It's not going to do a whole lot of good.
Yeah, you'll have it available for your characters, and that's about
it.
the
It's
extent
like,
of
I
it.
can give everybody glyphs, but they're not really going to be all that important.
Mm-hmm.
And
I saw what they did. I saw the changes that they did to jewel crafting as well,
yeah,
which is it's very strange that they keep on wanting to.
You gotta quit fucking with the market.
It doesn't even see like streamlining everything. I guess to a point it is, and I know that they're trying to make the game more accessible to people, but there is at times you can go a little too far.
oh
with
yeah.
that you can go too far with the accessibility.
It's
Because
like, now you can, wherever you're at, it doesn't matter what level you are in your professions, you can go to Warlords and mine that node, even if you are just barely starting your mining. You're not going to get the stuff, like, you might not get the stuff for that level, that you need, but you're still going to level up your mining, period, and you're still going to get something out of it, but it was weird. And like fishing, you can fish anywhere now.
Well, that was during Mist. I'm actually okay with that to a certain degree, but like with cooking and fishing and first aid, I can understand that because those aren't crucial.
No, they were like tertiary professions.
Yeah, I can understand leveling, and that's also why they have the dailies and the capitals, so you can do those. But your main professions, like I remember, having to get to a certain point in mining where I'm like, well, looks like I'm going to have to head over to, what's the name? Burning Steps now, because this is the only place that this ore shows up before I can go to Outland.
Right.
Yep.
It was that kind of stuff, and I know they've made it easier to have alts and such like that, but I do kind of miss, in certain respects, the difficulty factor.
Oh yeah.
That came with certain.
Yeah.
They're
yeah.
trying
certain
to
acts.
they're streamlining everything and making it so simplistic that it's like you're taking all the fun out of it.
Yeah.
To a point,
The challenge is what really for me made WoW fun.
Yeah, it made it different.
And like if you have a 2-person quest, you can easily go do that quest by yourself.
Yeah, you just pop your cooldowns and you're good to go.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
your cooldowns equal another person.
Yeah. And
Yes.
it's like, well, what's the point in this? You're taking the community out of that one.
Well, the one thing that I is like, part of me really likes the concept of just the instant dungeon group to a point. All right. The balance on the instant dungeon group, I thought, is in order to use it, you'd have to be at the summoning stone of that dungeon. Because I remember going into Mist and there's the Jade Temple
Yeah.
thing. Going there, and I was doing all the stuff inside, and I'm looking over at the instance entrance, and I'm like, why do they even have a summoning stone here? There's no
Exactly.
point in having summoning stones anymore. There really isn't.
There
No.
really isn't.
Unless you're running low-level dungeons, and you need to summon people in, since you can't queue up in the dungeon finder.
Right.
But I remember that was actually a big sense of the community for some people, were just having to hang out at the dungeon, like, okay, let's get so-and-so summoned, let's go. I remember when running dungeons was a chore, not a chore, but it was an ordeal
Yeah.
that you had to work through as a team
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
to do, and now it's all just jump in, say hello if you're get a hello if you're lucky,
If you're
Yeah,
lucky.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you're lucky.
and then just zerg.
Yep.
Yep. It's
And
ho-hum.
Very ho hum.
They've put all the difficulty into the raids.
Yeah.
Because now, well, I mean, they also have the different challenges, the challenge modes and stuff, I suppose, but
Well, they also have the time warp rating where you go back, like they'll have a certain raid up, like you go do you're gonna go do Ice Crown Citadel for this week, and your gear your level, everything is knocked back down to the time where you would have been at that point, the highest.
Speaking of that, what do you guys think about the Blizzard executives talking to the guys who were doing that legacy server that got shut down due to the lawsuit?
Oh, man.
Do you think that Blizzard is actually going to go forth with maybe doing legacy servers?
It would be nice if they do, because then that would seem more, have a legitimate reason of them doing that. But I don't know. It'd be really cool if they did do it, but I don't know if they're going to. It may be quite a while before they start doing legacy servers.
I can see them doing it. I can see them going in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
I really can.
It's just, and it was really weird that they did that, and I was like, what?
What, did they shut the server down, or they were meeting with the people behind the server?
They were shutting it down and all that. And, that with them meeting the people, that kind of gives it maybe that they will do it.
Because they're having people who know the experience of having to run an old server like that. Because that's another thing that I don't think a lot of people take into account. The people who worked on Vanilla WoW, a lot of them probably are not at Blizzard anymore.
Yeah, more than likely, no.
A lot of them have probably moved on to other projects and other companies and stuff, and maybe one of the reasons that they don't do a vanilla server or a legacy servers is because there's people, the people who were familiar with that code and how WoW was back then, except for maybe some of the high ups, they're not there anymore to do the daily maintenance, or they can't put in that daily input. So maybe they're getting, I forgot, it's called like the Nostralia or something. I think it's a dragon's name, but it's maybe they've gotten those people together and maybe start the ball rolling on that, which I think would be kind of a cool way to go about it. And some people were thinking maybe Blizzard could charge maybe a $5 extra fee to the monthly to use the legacy servers. I don't think that they need to do that. I think Blizzard will be amazed if they do legacy servers for Vanilla or Burning Crusade or Lich King or whatever. That I think they'll be amazed how many old school subscribers they'll get back.
Oh,
exactly.
I know.
Have people returning just to play the content that they loved playing.
With the same difficulty level and stuff like that.
It would be awesome.
Because that was, I remember, I don't remember if it was Snow or someone else who, they normally play on private servers. And they do like TK, and they do a Burning Crusade, so they do TK and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then when they started playing current WoW, at that level, they actually got a group together to go to those raids.
Yep.
And they were like, why is this so simple?
Yeah.
Because they've kept on downgrading encounters. I remember they used to do that like every month when we were playing Wrath of the Lich King.
Oh, yeah.
It was, Kael'thas's encounter has been scaled down, or the Blue Dragon and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It was being scaled down on almost a monthly basis.
Yeah, and it's weird that you can go back to Karazhan and the only thing that's going to give you hell is chess. Other than that, you can solo that thing.
I remember going to... I remember us when we first started raiding Karazhan, and this was about when people were starting to do the raids. I remember with regularly, and us getting stuck on Moros.
God, yeah, Moros.
And having a ball doing it. It's like, well, he kicked our butt. We'll be back next week, kind of thing, and being glad with that.
Yeah.
I think another reason that I think WoW I lost a lot of interest in WoW is a lot of our friends started caring more about progression than hanging out with their friends.
Yes.
It became about, we need to have this gear level and take care of this fight, and if we can't beat this raid in X amount of tries,
Then
we're done for the night, and I don't want to talk to you guys anymore for the rest of the night. That really put a bad taste in my mouth.
It did for me too, especially, when we were just having so much fun doing the raids before that, and the guilds started to dwindle down, and people were leaving, and it was dispersing, and people were going to other guilds, and
I think that and Borex dying is what really kind of dealt with it. For those who are listening, we had a person that we I don't know. I can't really explain it for people who haven't really experienced it, but meeting someone online and never seeing them, but being a friend and playing this game and accomplishing so much and having all these really good times, and then having that person. And I actually met Borex in person. I had one opportunity where I got to meet him, and he was an amazing guy. And he unfortunately died due to a post-operative blood clot when he was having a procedure done. Mm-hmm. It was a really freak accident, and it was really, really bizarre to have something like that happen, because losing someone that you have met a grand total of maybe an hour, but you feel like you've known that person for years because you have.
Yeah. Yeah, I still have...
Sorry to bring the mood down, but it was just...
No, you didn't
it's bringing memories back. I still have all the emails that we sent back and forth, and, I got to Skype with them at one point, and, we had FaceTime and all that, and it was... I miss Borex.
I think it was that thing when we would go to... and it started happening, I remember, a lot during... when we started doing Ice Crown Citadel. Because our group would run... and people were getting furious that we weren't clearing stuff. And I remember when Borex would accidentally run down the wrong hallway in Karazhan.
or his pet Jennifer would take off running. He's like, "No, Jennifer!"
And we'd laugh and be like, "Oh, let's go save Borex," and we'd veer off and start fighting mobs to save our hunter.
Yeah.
And it became like work for some people, and became more about the accomplishment. Speaking of Karazhan real quick, just to kind of lighten the mood a bit.
Oh god.
During the Warcraft movie, when you saw Medivh for the first time, did you think he was building Curator?
Yeah.
You thought that? Because the second I saw that, I thought in my head, Z.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
I thought the same thing. I thought, oh god.
But no, it turned into an Infernal,
yeah,
for lack of a better term.
That was the starts of the Infernal. Okay, now we're going to do a little, the two tales that I want to do. And this one is the Curator. We're going to start with that one because you brought it up.
Okay.
I had this load, salty, just all the salt in the world for Wretch and for Kragnathor, because we did something in Karazhan, cleared it all out, up until the Prince, which was like the last of the boss. And I had to go get quest items from Karazhan. Well, I took Kroll and Kragnathor with me because I was a lowly hunter and I needed the help. So we went to go find everything. And these guys decided to play a nasty trick on me. Wretch played Curator's soundbite over Ventrilla. I think we were using Ven at the time. And I'm freaking out because they're like, "Oh god, Z, Curator's back up, and they dive off a platform. Kragnathor dies, I'm freaking out. Kroll dies, I'm freaking out and running all over the place, getting lost. I end up in Medivh's bedchamber.
Flesh beasts.
Yeah, because we never went into Medivh's bedchamber. Ever. We always skipped past it, and yeah.
Well, there was no point to go to it because it wasn't for progression.
No. But I figured it out. I figured out what was in his bedchamber. Flesh beasts. I was not a happy camper. Really wasn't.
And she after she dies, she's like, "What's going on?" And then me and Crag couldn't
crack up laughing.
Couldn't hold up because we had Crag had we both had our pop-ups, so we could come back to life if we wanted to.
And at that time, they didn't have the group heal, group res.
But Z was out of luck, and we like to play on that trauma. It was funny. It was very funny.
So I make it a point to go kill Curator when I can, because you're the bane of my existence. The other one, what was the other one I wanted to? Oh, you're foretelling of being psychic to Blizzard.
Oh, hell's bells. Yeah.
This one's fun.
Oh, you want me to tell it?
Yes, you tell this one, because that was all your glory, sir.
Okay, well, we started we were on a roleplay server, and I still play on roleplay servers to this day, just because I'm an old fogey, and occasionally want to geek out. But the first guild that we were in was called the 100 Acre Militia. And it was because Hrothgar's druid looked like Pooh Bear when he sat down, and it focused on that. I played predominantly orc characters, and I wanted to kind of have something more roleplay based. So I took all of my orcs out of the guild and formed Dread Talon Clan. And this was back during Burning Crusade, like in the middle of Burning Crusade, because I thought, man, Dread Talon sounds like an awesome name. And I think a lot of people agreed with that.
Oh, yeah.
And then I remember Wrath of the Lich King coming out, and I was actually the first person in our group to hit 80, I remember.
Yes, you were.
And we went through Borean Tundra, and I was in Dragonblight.
Yep.
I think it was called.
Yep.
And I get a quest that says, you have to kill Dread Talon. And I'm like, I beg your pardon? And there's a giant undead buzzard called Dread Talon. It wasn't even an undead buzzard. It's like an undead just bird of prey.
Yep.
Called Dread Talon that you need to kill. And I was like, well, if this is like a 5-person quest or something, I'm okay with that. Because I'll just say that we were named after this mythical beast and just kind of go from there. No, it's a 2-player group that I soloed. And I just look down at Dread Talon, and I'm like, I can't keep my guild named after this. I can't. So we disbanded Dread Talon Clan, and that was back before guild perks and that kind of nature.
Mm-hmm. And you could rename your guild.
No, they didn't have guild renaming at that point. So we disbanded Dread Talon Clan and had everyone join up and formed Storm Talon Clan.
Yep.
And I was like, Storm Talon is more appropriate to my shaman, who's an elemental shaman and leader, and blah, 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 blah. And everything was fine until Cataclysm. And I'll tell this little part of the story through Blade Wrath / Deadly's point of view, because we were on Vent all running through, and we were in the Twilight Highlands.
Twilight Highlands, yep.
And I'm flying around doing quests, and Blade Wrath will tell, like, he was sitting there on Vent, and he just hears me go, "Oh my god." And Blade's like, "What?" He's like, don't you dare. Don't do it. Don't. Yeah, just random grunts and gnashing of teeth. And I just went, "No, they did it." And Blade's like, "What the hell are you talking about?" And there's a quest in Twilight Highlands to take down Storm Talon riders.
Yep.
Which I was like, okay, that's all right. That's okay. Until I flew over and saw that they were Alliance dwarves on griffins.
Yep.
And I internally screamed. And I think that's when I was just like, all right, I am not doing this again. And I contacted Blizzard. This is when they were starting to do stuff, and I filed a ticket. Such was my anger. And I was like, and I think I started the ticket with, "Now see here."
Yeah.
An amazing way to start a ticket to Blizzard, by the way.
Yeah.
And I explained this whole situation. And I was like, this is the second time you have done this to me. And I am not going to have my guild of orcs named after, bloody dwarven griffin riders. That will not do. I'm on an RP server. I have, I have rights too, damn it. And the guy the GM got a hold of me, and he went, "Oh, that is so horrible." And it's like, and they sympathized with me. I was like, "I'll tell you what. Here's what we're gonna do. I want you to write down 5 guild names." And they were overcompensating for it. I was like, "I want you to write down 5 guild names, and you put them all down on a list, and I will just go down. We'll see if there's any other guilds named that. Like, you don't even have to check the armory to see if there's existing guilds. You just put the names down and send them to me, and we'll rename your guild. This will be your one guild rename." Mm-hmm. So I actually am like, okay, that's nice. I'm still going to check the armory, though, and looked up all the guilds.
Yep.
And I got 5 original guild names written down and sent that to the GM. Well, about an hour or 2 later, I was like, that's kind of a long time to wait. If he's waiting for my call, why is it taking so long? Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, I see the notice that your guild has been renamed to Shield of Kalimdor.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Wait a minute. And I look over at the GM ticket, and that's number 3
Yep.
on my list. And the GM's like, "Hello, Krogoth. This is so and so from Blizzard. We renamed your guild. Are you okay? Are you okay with that?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's cool. I love the name Shield of Kalimdor. I do have a question though. That was number 3 on the list. There were 2 other names above it that had priority." And the GM went, "Yeah, you're really good at predicting how our company is going to name stuff." So for the life of me, I don't remember what the first 2 names on that list are, but I'm sure that they were in Mist of Pandaria or Warlords of Draenor. They're somewhere, somewhere out there.
I think one of them was like the name of somebody.
Yeah, it was
like an NPC or somebody that got. It was crazy.
It was something like that, but I kind of thought myself, I was like, well, if I keep on predicting your stuff before you guys do it, maybe you should give me a job.
They should have.
Yeah, they really should have. Oh god, memories. I know Orgy's favorite thing.
What favorite thing?
Orgy, we know that his bread and butter is mage.
Yes.
I love how how that tone suddenly became very stern. What thing?
Yeah. He has found that it has become a game for him to play Clothy Tank.
Oh, yeah.
Because that always works.
Because he out DPSs everybody, and he out aggroes the tank, and ends up to where almost everybody is wiped. All the tanks are gone. There's me, him, and like 2 healers, and I have out a tanky pet, and we end out I think it was a raid boss.
I think it was a raid boss.
It was a raid boss. We ended out with me and him still alive. One of the healers had dropped, so we had 1 healer on us, and I was like, don't worry about the pet. Pet was staying alive because I was healing the pet. I was like, keep the mage alive. And we killed the raid boss.
Huzzah!
Yeah, doing the whole no of pet tanking and mage tanking.
Yeah, which is like in the big 5 no-nos, right up to don't stand in the fire.
Yeah, don't stand in the stupid.
Yep.
And so, ever since that raid, he's very big on, I'm gonna out tank the tank.
Well, it doesn't start off as something I have to do.
As a tank, I can go ahead and state this for the record, that I hate people like you. Okay, my taunts have a cooldown, sir.
I know.
You must respect the cooldown.
I know they do. And I will, if you're a good tank, I won't do it. I will sit back, and if you got their attention, I'm not going to take it away. It starts off on the whole, okay, if I'm just doing my normal DPS and I'm pulling attention, there's got to be a problem.
Yeah.
If I'm doing my normal and I'm starting to get attention, I start getting pissy.
Especially now, because this is a long time removed from the days where everyone had to have Omen installed on their as a mod in order to raid.
Right, exactly. And so it's not a goal that I just set out to do. It just happens. And it's whenever tanks don't know their role and they don't fulfill it, I have a tendency to go, I'm standing close to you. It's soon going to get you. It's going to eat my face, and I will try the whole run around you to, hey, look at me, and don't let it eat me.
Well, you play a Forsaken, right?
Yeah.
I'll be eating the face around here. Kind of thing.
So I'm like, no. And eventually, I'm just like, fine, I will take the tank role, and here, I'm doing it. Fuck it.
So the tank becomes the off tank.
Yep. It just happens. It's not that something I intentionally do. It eventually happens. If you're not good as the tank role, I'm taking over.
As long as you prepare for that kind of thing, I suppose.
And usually I tell people when it's about to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one of my tanky moments
where
I get a message from Wretch here. He goes, Z, for the love of God, will you come do this dungeon with us? Because their blood tank didn't know what the hell he was doing.
See, exactly.
Couldn't keep aggro for crap, and left the group. And he was on Drogoth, his warrior at the time. You had no tank spec, I think.
I think this was back before you could easily switch back and forth.
Yeah,
Right.
you would had to go back to town, pay for it.
Yeah,
So
spend gold
And he's like,
and I think the only reason we were running that dungeon is because I really wanted something.
it was something from, because it was Utgard Keep.
Yeah, it was some sort of DPS weapon that I wanted.
Yeah. And so I ended up going there with my pig. And he told the healer, just heal the pig.
I remember that now because after we killed the boss, that healer contacted me and he went, no one's going to believe this when I tell them. Like, how the hell did we pull this off? Kind of thing. That healer was just beside himself.
Yeah.
About how he was able to, how we were able to kill Scavguard or whatever his name was.
Just
With a freaking pig.
With a pig.
With a pig.
Because that was the only tank pet I had in my roster at the time.
Well, I can't tell you how many dungeons, how many pug groups I had to run back during Burning Crusade, where we were near like the final pools, and the tank would DC or he'd get salty and leave or something. And I told people, like, hey, before you leave the group, if you're willing to pull, wait every 2 minutes to pull. We can still do this.
Yep.
And if I was playing healer, and I would just sit there and run into the middle and cast my Earth Ellie, and would just sit there, I'm like, okay, we've got 1 minute to beat this boss, so no pressure to DPS. Just
Yeah.
sit there and just spam heal on our Earth Ellie.
Below cooldowns, all that fun jazz.
Mm-hmm.
See, yeah, we had the same experience. I mean, hell, as I was trying to catch up and doing a lot of pug groups, I had to do a lot of that too. I would tell people, just follow my lead, and they're like, but it's left field and we're gonna die. No, we won't. Just do it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll pull through this. But you're a clothy mage. Don't worry about it.
I think one of the other epic raid tells that I like was when we were doing Hagar the Unclean in Nex Ramus. And it was me and Blade Wrath left. Because I think somehow everybody wiped. Except for the two of us.
Mm-hmm.
And I would switch between doing the stupid dance that normally killed everybody.
Oh, the safety dance. Was that the safety dance
That was
fight?
the safety dance, yeah, with Hagar
Okay.
the Unclean.
I was not familiar with his name. All I knew him as was the safety dance guy.
Yeah.
The man with a hat.
And it ended
Or
up
without
where,
hats.
because at that time I was on my shaman, and she was the resto shaman, and Blade Wrath was on his warrior, and he was sitting there tanking Hagar, and I would go from doing the dance with the acid coming up from the cracks in the ground to going up to where he would stand on the pedestal, put down my totems, and spam heal for Blade Wrath. And throw out like all my I think I had my fire elemental that would help do DPS, and just sit there and switch between healing and DPS. And
Wasn't Blade like the most zen player?
he was. That was so not a
Never.
zen fight.
Never overreacted or got upset. And
Nuh-uh.
I'm more like Blade Wrath now than I was back then. Because my entire purpose was just to make sarcastic comments and keep the comedy up, I guess, for people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I miss him. He's got a kid now.
Oh wow.
He's married and just enjoying life.
Man, the years after WoW. There's a documentary right there.
Before and after.
Yeah.
Just on our group, it'll be like the most specialized documentary ever.
I know, right?
Hell's bells.
So much has happened. It's like, I know Kragnathor and Raja still play. I don't know if Colin plays anymore.
No,
Probably
he
not. He's
plays.
got a kiddo.
His blood pressure couldn't handle it.
No.
He spends most of his time on Overwatch because I see him pop up on Battle.net.
Battle.net, yeah.
Yeah,
Gosh,
I think he's playing Overwatch.
it'd be really cool if we got a
No, that was Darkfire. Never mind, wrong person.
Oops. Yeah, I don't think he still plays. Colin doesn't play because he's got a kiddo himself.
It was funny logging in and just having a bunch of people whisper me like Wretch, question mark scene.
Because I've had so many instances of people hacking into other people's accounts.
I nearly posted something like, "Hey, do you need gold now?"
Oh.
Like a spam message, and I was going to send it to anyone who whispered me.
Oh, that'd been so messed up. So I know Darren's account got hacked a lot. And then
That's the reason he doesn't play anymore.
And then Shotguns got hacked once. And I remember all of us standing out front of Karazhan, because that's where the person went, was Karazhan. And just sitting there and watching him and doing weird gestures and, calling him all kinds of filthy names.
And he's running around like, they know.
Yeah, because at the time I was living with him in Kragnathor, and I was like, are you online? He's like, no. I'm like, well, Philel is, and you're doing Karazhan runs. He's like, son of a...
Bitch.
And he quickly got on to get that taken care of, because he's like, that's not me, someone's hacked it. But...
I think I made some sort of comment when he logged in. I was like, glad that was taken care of. And I think I said, like, quietly over vent,
Yep.
I miss the old Philil. I think the new one was better than the old one.
Yup.
Philil the Bigfoot.
Had thunder thighs. Yeah.
A lot of good memories there.
So many memories, but yeah.
Well, hopefully you guys will be able to get back on again and maybe make some new memories. The people, they don't really play as much anymore, but there's still a lot of fun to be had. So.
Oh yeah. I'm looking forward to Legion. I'm wanting to buy the collector's edition because you can buy it for $75 online and have the collector stuff. Which is...
There you go.
I'm like, yeah. But yeah, I think we got a really good thing here doing all this World of Warcraft and memories and nostalgia. And,
oh yeah.
So we're gonna wrap it up on this one. So thank you, Wretch, for joining us. And
Zug.
Yes, thank you.
Zug. Bringing in all the memories. And you guys make sure, we'll link it down below. Go check out Wretch on Wretch Plays. He does lots of awesome gaming, and he does live streams and all that fun jazz. So go check him out.
Occasionally I do them well.
Yes. Very well. And if you have any questions or any suggestions, leave them down in the comment section below or send us an email. Made a new one, nocturnalnerds.podcast@gmail.com. So
check daily.
Check daily. So this is us signing off. Let's tune in on next Friday. I'm not gonna say it. But until then, guys, ja matane.
Laters, guys.
Later days.